We now return to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute, the radio show discussing the honest truth about Illinois policy and politics. Here's AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Pat Hughes, co-founder of the Illinois Opportunity Project, on this edition of Illinois Rising. And we were talking about the election results, and particularly the election results in Illinois, and where Governor Rauner and Republicans find themselves situated with 2 years to go before the governor's up for re-election, and all the members of the House are up for re-election, and another crop of senators are up for re-election. And can the governor do something transformative to continue to build upon the modest gains that were made this past November, and to move out of minority altogether, much less super minority still in the Senate, and also to start kind of turning around Illinois, as was the promise of his election in 2014. And he said, okay, well, so what's a political risk? Political risk was the conversation. What is a political risk Rauner should take? Or give me an example of one. This is the only one, I think. But you've got to do something big on a big issue. So what are the big issues? He's outlined some of them, but he's spent 2 years negotiating against himself, too, with Madigan and Cullerton that are completely uninterested in moving any structural reform of state government. So big ticket items. Public sector unions, and by extension, pensions, K through 12 funding, property taxes, right? And then kind of the overall regulatory climate in Illinois as it pertains to capital formation and job creation. So public sector unions. We've talked about it in this show a number of times. The governor has an accomplishment that not enough people know. 18 successful collective bargaining agreements he has negotiated with units, public sector unions that represent small groups of state workers, all who have taken a wage freeze because they understand the dire straits financially the state is in. AFSCME, the public sector union that represents 37,000 state workers, the largest group, wants 15 to 29% increases over a 4-year contract. And so this has been a battle, a stalemate between the governor and AFSCME leadership for 18 months. And he got a ruling from the Illinois Labor Relations Board that said there is a labor impasse, which is important because then it gave the governor the opportunity to impose his last best final offer, which included the same wage freeze that he successfully negotiated with all those other unions. And he slow-walked it. He started implementing the drug testing policy, but not the economic terms, which is what this is all about. To me, and then AFSCME ran to a Metro East.
Yeah, St. Clair County.
Judge, right, St. Clair, and got a TRO, and so we're kind of back to stasis. It seems to me that's where he makes a stand. He says to AFSCME, and he says to the state, to your point about using the bully pulpit and making the argument. Don't just wave a flag. Don't just stake out a position. Articulate the argument. Advance the flag. He says, this is it. Take it or leave it. And if you leave it, you want to walk? No problem. We'll replace you. I mean, his Reagan-Patco moment, his Walker siege on Madison moment. I think that's the kind of big risk that creates a huge conversation about public sector unions in this state, which are disproportionately powerful, about the existence, the layers of government, the number of public sector jobs, Illinois being the only state in the Midwest with more public sector jobs, more government jobs than manufacturing jobs. Maybe that has something to do with our stagnation and our unattractiveness to outside businesses. But that's his opportunity to say, we have to have this conversation and reorder the balance of power and the expenses this balance of power throws off, who benefits and who loses. And let's talk specifically, educate the public on what exactly state workers, the highest paid in the union, adjusted for cost of living, what exactly they get versus what private sector workers in Illinois are making, both in terms of salary as well as benefit packages, and including a look ahead towards retirement benefits. Because if he doesn't do that, or if he doesn't do something profound on public sector pensions or on property taxes, then what is it exactly he going to say over the next 18 months as we ramp up to his reelection in 18?
Well, first of all, I think that you're exactly on point, and there's a number of reasons, both from a policy perspective and then politically for the governor, why this would be so advantageous, right? So the workers at AFSCME already are getting more money and more benefits than the average taxpayer gets, right? And that's an issue aside to itself. But what they want in our dire economic circumstances is they want more. They want 37.5-hour work weeks. They want a $3.5 billion increase in their compensation against an already $8 billion budget deficit. These are numbers that are consumable and understandable if you put them in the right context. And they're not teachers, right? Teacher strikes are really, really difficult because people have an emotional tie to their kids going to school and what's going to happen to their kids in this narrow window of time that they're being educated. But for AFSCME, the public is going to say, well, I don't know what that means. And frankly, I don't care because these people are extorting me for their gain. So it's the perfect side to be on, where the small group of people, politically powerful people because of their ties to Madigan, are going to be checked to the benefit of everybody else, including these voters who are in these suburban counties that we've talked about right outside of Chicago. And that's the other issue, the political issue, right? Those AFSCME people, no matter what Ronner does, he could give them $10 billion. He could give them $50 billion, right? He could give them everything they ever wanted, okay? They're still going to work against him in the next election. They're still going to put the money and the power and the effort behind the Democratic Party and Mike Madigan. So there's nothing to lose politically by making them your direct enemy and making them the proxy. And making Madigan the proxy, that's a part of the strategy, but they way overdid it in terms of the value that would ultimately show, because Madigan's not on the ballot. And even though people know him now more than they did before, you can't associate or tie everything to that thing. But knowing that these workers are getting paid the money they're getting paid and they want more, the and they want more thing, that's the part of it that I think is really the catch, that people will go, well, this is just absurd, and he should do that.
Well, and it's not just like going after this group. It's the idea, the way forward for Illinois necessarily includes adjusting,
correct,
what we're doing with compensation packages for state workers and on a prospective basis. I mean, we just have to bend the cost curves. We can't continue, and everybody knows it. Nobody wants to draw the line and do it. And so if we did draw that line, and if I do stand up, and if I have to do something I don't want to do because they are so entitled, they are so used to the blank check that they just will not meet me halfway, a third of the way with respect to compensation, like so many others did, because they're just so powerful and so used to a blank check, so used to rolling over politicians, and they make me do something I'm going to do. This is the benefit for you. This is why I'm doing it. It's not because I don't like state workers. It's not because I've got any issue with even the right to organize. It's the idea that in order to get to this place, I have to institute a new discipline in all these other places. And it seems to me one of the problems Ronner's made, in terms of going back to what you said at the outset of this conversation about communication. Here's the turnaround agenda. It's workers' comp, it's property tax caps, it's pension reform. Those are bullet points. There hasn't been a succinctly articulated proposal to rally people around in any of these areas. And so it just becomes like an index card with 5 categories, and that's not going to inflame anybody's passions, and it's not going to persuade too many people because they don't know exactly what you mean or what they're going to get if we did whatever you call workers' comp reform or whatever you call a property tax cap, different than what Madigan and Cullerton, the Chicago Democrats, call those same things.
Yeah, and after 18 months, Dan, or 2 years of it, even those sort of words that were meant to have some meaning, the meaning has been sucked out of them because they've been said so many times. It's a laundry list of terms. So any value they had in the beginning, they've lost through the entire
Everybody
process.
in the state's a fiscal conservative.
Correct.
Everybody in the state supports property tax caps. We have the worst bond rating of any state in the nation in 25 years, not just for present. And with respect to property tax caps, we pay the highest property taxes in the nation. So we got a bunch of fiscal conservatives running around supporting property tax caps, and we don't have anything resembling either one of those things.
So then the question is the $64,000 question or the $64 billion question.
Sounds like my property tax
Yeah,
bill.
exactly. Is why doesn't he do it? I mean, we're closer to this political stuff than most people are. We've seen the governor up close, working publicly and privately. What is it about this circumstance that makes him resistant to what is an obvious, in our view, based on your proposal, an obvious, smart, meaningful political play?
Well, I'm going to make you answer your own question right after this.